Good evening, and happy Wednesday, everybody. How's everyone doing? We are at that phase of like back to school. I've been seeing kids already going back to school. I thought my kids were going back early. Dana's down there smiling because she's like, I don't school, I ain't got nothing to do with that. Okay, so we are back for another episode. Thank you for joining us. And those that have joined us since the beginning of all things, we appreciate you. If you missed last week's episode or any episode before, use that link in the comments, subscribe to that channel, or filter through our pages and find the replay, which I know you don't want to do. So make sure you go over to that YouTube channel where it's easy. All right, so y'all know what to do. Hit the share button, get your folks in here, and we are going to go ahead and jump into this episode. So if you didn't know, this month is, let me get it right because I never get it right. It's Black Small Business Month. So just as it sounds, this is a month celebrating Black-owned businesses, and we've talked about this before, but I think it begs talking about again, and I'm sure we'll have evolved since the last time we had the conversation. Truly, so what it means and what it looks like, and how, if you're curious, how to support Black-owned businesses. We're gonna jump straight into it, ladies. So happy Black Small Business Month. Let's talk about what it means to truly support Black-owned business. Let's start what it would look like for you ladies for somebody to support your business, what that means to you.
Sorry, I'm making faces over here. For me, it means when I'm going live, y'all sharing my stuff. I have been consistently sharing weekly. And so support looks like for me, just sharing what I get me out there. Share my stuff, like it. Talk to your friends about it because I mean, it's just me. And I'm only one person. And getting it out there to the masses is my goal right now. That's what it looks like for me. Not necessarily just purchasing my services.
So I want to kind of start with, I feel like first and foremost, like when we say support Black-owned businesses, I feel like at the end of the day, we have unconscious biases that cause us to purchase in a certain way, shop in a certain way, and support in a certain way. And I think this is across the board. I don't care what your background is. All of us have some of those unconscious biases. So I think it's important to have the conversations because I want even those that tune in or those that you share this video or whatnot, I want you to honestly assess your own buying patterns and what that looks like, right? So when we talk about like unconscious biases and when we talk about some of those things, unfortunately, we might say, oh, I support Black-owned businesses. I have this one boutique that I get my body butters from or whatever, and they're Black-owned, right? But I want you to honestly like assess. Like I always kind of look at it first and foremost, if you look at your friend circle or if you look at your space and everyone looks like you, that's a problem, right? If everyone looks just like you, that's a problem. If when you go to the park and your kids are playing with other little kids and everybody looks like you, that's a problem, right? So you're going to start creating these unconscious biases, even whether you realize you're doing it or not. So I think that like, it's one of those things like, let's get to the core of it. And then it will now make more sense as to what you can do or what that looks like to support a Black-owned business. And the reason why I also think it's super, super important is because Black and minority businesses, for the most part, because they actually make up such a strong sector in our economy, when you're supporting them, it's not just like, oh, I'm supporting them because, oh, see, I want to show Black people I'm an ally. It also is helping you in your economy, right? It's helping the country. It's helping things outside and bigger than just your own backyard. Unfortunately, if you're only cycling dollars like this to this one demographic of people, then that hurts the rest of like the economy and things like that. So for example, right, like if we have to get grants, if we have to get loans, if we have to get government assistance, if we have to get some of those things, somebody's paying for it, guys. Somebody's paying for it, right? Whereas on the flip side, if you're supporting these businesses and they're not looking for aid or have to have that type of stuff, right? Then you're paying it out and you're actually getting goods and you're actually supporting it in that way. So I think first and foremost, I just want to like put that blanket out there because I think it's super, super important to kind of like analyze and really think about those things because it's a bigger factor than just, oh, I clicked the button and supported that, or I just clicked this for convenience. Honestly, when we talk about supporting small businesses and especially minority small businesses, it actually is impacting all aspects of our economy.
I agree. I think even to just answer my own question, that's exactly what I was going to say. It was like I agree with Andriana as well in the sense that it's like it's not just a one-time thing. I think it gets said all the time, speaking just with small businesses in general as well. It's like you don't just go in and say, "Well, I shop there because I shop there," or "Well, I filled my quota for the month," or whatever the case may be. Um, I think just like with any business, something has to be frequented for it to give it a chance. Like actually take the time to make the decision because like Dana said, we all have buying patterns and we have unconscious bias that say, I'm gonna shop from what feels familiar to me or what feels safe to me. Um, or what I know or what my group of people is telling me that they know. So I'm not saying that if somebody was or if I was completely like against your morals or was rude, like you should still shop with me. Like I don't think anybody is saying that because I'm not gonna shop with me. I'm not gonna shop with nobody like that. I don't care what you look like. But it's okay to come and shop with me and actually use the products and or actually use the service and come back. Like you're not benefiting my business or anyone else's in the minority communities, in the Black communities, in the BIPOC communities, whatever, if you're just buying it, putting it on the shelf, saying, I did it. Like it's all the small things that you see every single day, like the sharing, like what, I saw this, I can't use it, but I think you can, the recommendations, the things that we're so comfortable doing with stores that pay millions of dollars for advertisement for you to see every time you pick up your phone or you turn on the TV. Like, I don't know. I had this thought the other day, just kind of laying around, like, you're concerned with what an actual individual will tell you. Like, could they be lying to me? Could they be trying to steal from me? But you don't think that's what big box people are doing to you? That, I mean, like, it's marketing is a neural thing. Like, what's going to trigger you to purchase from somebody? It's trickery. Like, it is what it is. And I personally, I love when I can shop from, and I've had horrible experience with small business owners across the board. Um, I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to tangibly talk to a real person and have a relationship with not only the brand, but the individual behind the brand, behind that mission, the things that you can support. So it might be an uncomfortable thing because you're like, oh, I'm used to doing this, but there's so much to be found in those spaces um, if you give it a chance.
So my first one, just to like put out there, because at the end of the day, we do want to make money too. So if you have the ability within your business, do business with Black entrepreneurs. So depending on what field you are in, especially if you're in the same field, but you don't even have to be in the same field, use your resources to actually do business with them, right? Like, can you collaborate on something where it showcases them and it showcases you, right? And when it comes to business. So actions speak louder than words. When it comes to supporting Black entrepreneurs, saying that you support them is one thing, but actually showing up and doing it is a completely different thing. So I always tell people, like, first and foremost, just support. Like, what can you do? What can your business do? If you have, like, I don't know, a shop and you know somebody that is, I'll even use what we have, right? You have a shop and you know that I share oils, right? And I share wellness. Why not open your shop and say, hey, let's do some wellness classes, right? Like I have this database of people that shop with me on a frequent basis. I'm going to reach out to them, invite them. You can come into my space and you can teach, right? Because all you have to do is open the door and invite your people. And the nice thing about this is a win-win for everybody, because your people that are shopping in your store, they want community. They want to build something beyond just they pick something off your shelf. And so now you've created this space where you're supporting another business, but you're also getting resources for people that shop with you and education that maybe you wouldn't necessarily be able to provide. And so think of ways that you can actually partner with these businesses, right? Or even if it's something as simple as saying, hey, let's do a live together so that my community can see what you're doing and your community can see what I'm doing, right? Don't negate the fact that you have people that we can't touch, right? And just by your I don't know how to say this politically correct, just by your demographic face, you can touch people and give other people in your sphere permission to say, hey, I'm going to shop with this person as well. Okay. There's people that I can go straight up to them and say, hey, this is what I have. And they would never listen to me. But simply because you look the way you look and they respect your decisions, they would be like, oh, okay, well, let me give that a try. Let me think about it. Let me look at that. And I think that we can't like ever discount the fact that because of the unconscious biases, there's people that are not going to support or not going to even think to come simply because the way we look. And that's out there and it's real. And so that is why it's important that we have this message. And that's why we speak up about like what that looks like to support.
Do y'all think it's an unconscious bias because it's what they're comfortable with, it's what they know, and they just think outside of the box? If that's the case, how do I make them uncomfortable to get out of that box?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with a piece of it, and I think while Dana was talking, it came to me like we accept what is supposedly normal, and that's across the board, but it's because of what we see here all the time. That is just how whatever we say, that's what's normal, and we're readily accepting it because, oh, I see it all the time. I mean, one of the big things I think is that I see talked about, but a lot of that has to do with what my own brand and platform is um super off topic, but female, menstruation, those kinds of things. Like, it's not normal to have pain. It's not normal to be alerted of this happening by this thing. But because I mean, for most women that will hear this, and maybe even men have heard it from their wives, their girlfriends, sisters, whatever, we were told this is what's gonna happen. Like, it has been an accepted thing because everybody had it happening, so it was dubbed as, oh, that's normal. So to Dana saying, do the lives, don't be afraid to, I don't even necessarily know if it's fear. I don't know what would stop you from engaging another individual, and having them come on, and you're providing more value to your followers, your audience, whatever the case may be. But it's also showing people in the minority spaces within the Black communities as normal business owners. Like, this isn't like I can't even think of the word, y'all, but this is not like it's not an anomaly that there are people of color running businesses. Like, it's been happening forever, but it's not been the norm. It's not the thing that people, and normal makes us comfortable, right? If we see somebody walking around with a unicorn on their head, that we're like, that's not normal. So we assume something's wrong. I mean, when everybody was having all those like bone alterations, I'm sure most of us were like, what in the hell's bells is happening? Because it's not normal. So, putting people being okay with allowing, and I know it seems like a hard word, but it isn't allowing minority businesses to be, highlighted and shown without there being controversy around it, makes it normal where people who do have those biases and don't realize that they haven't seen the episode where Dayna has said that same thing a billion times for you for you to be staring at you in the mirror, right? It switches that. And like neurally, like it's a marketing, like it'll switch that to be like, oh, this isn't some kind of like thing I need to be fearful of. I'm gonna give it a try. We say we have to normalize this, and unfortunately, this is just one of those things that we have to normalize is minorities in business, women in business. Like that is unfortunately how, especially our society is groomed. In my opinion, is normalcy. It's not normal to see it, so it can't be right.
I think I want to go a little bit back to your question, Adriana, when you said, how do we force them? Okay, force doesn't usually work. So I do feel like uncomfortable conversations need to happen, right? So even to me, like when people like the three of us say, hey, we're going to have this conversation in the sphere of everyone being able to see, right? This is public, so everybody can see it. So if you know people that you're like, hey, I think that you should hear this conversation, tag them, right? Tag them in the comments, right? So that it alerts them that this might be a message that they need to hear. But when we come at somebody, it's like, you need to listen to this and you need to support me and you need to do this. Well, no, now they're not going to do anything, right? Like, I always feel like we have to lead with love, right? So I don't feel like leading with love, though, we have to sugarcoat things because this is how I feel. I will never apologize for how I feel, right? Because this is what I've observed in my 30 some years of living life, right? So I can't, and even on the flip side, if they come back with the same stuff and say, hey, well, this is how I feel, and I don't feel like I'm doing this, that, or the other, they have the right to feel that way too, right? But we have to lead with love. And I also feel like this is where, and I'm going to get into this a little bit, this is where we have to start putting ourselves in rooms that we might not usually be in, right? So we have to start connecting with these people that don't look like us as well, because we can't even start those conversations if we don't have any of those relationships already developing and starting, right? So if all we ever do is sit in rooms with other people that look like us, other Black owned businesses, and then we're like, hey, white people, you should support us or whatever. And we're like, but we're still in the rooms with, we haven't went into their rooms and say, hey, excuse me, can you support us, right? And you have to develop those relationships. You have to let them get comfortable with you and they get comfortable, vice versa, before you can then have the conversation, right? Because if somebody off the street just started telling you, hey, this is how you should parent and like you could do a better job, you're like, who are you? What do you mean? Like, I don't respect any of the information that you're saying. I don't even know who you are, right? So we have to develop those relationships and nurture and cultivate them so that we can then lead with love and then have the hard conversations, because they're not going to be open to those conversations if they're like, we don't even know who you are, we don't know what you're talking about or whatnot. So I do feel like it's important for us to like get in there as well. The other thing, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tameka.
Go ahead.
I just hope I'm not shifting too far from like this main point. But the other thing that I'm going to say, and I'm just going to put this out here straight up, like, because I appreciate that, both Tameka and Adriana is like, oh, you don't have to buy from me, but you can just share my stuff or whatever. I'm going to go even further than that. I'm going to say, hey, if you know a Black owned business and you got the money, fund them, give them money, support them financially. Okay. Because again, not only does that help you, but it also helps that small business. And a lot of our small businesses, unfortunately, are sole proprietorships, which means there is just one or two people that are running the whole gambit, right? And unfortunately, over time, what happens with things like that is either there's nothing to pass on generation after generation, or it gets passed to one person, and there's only a handful of people that are actually benefiting. But if you can help us to scale those businesses, to understand what it means to, get a corporation or an S corp, or how we can then get a larger, that actually again increases our economy more so than just letting me spin my wheels over here because I can barely survive, right? I'm feeding my business just for survival versus actually thriving and, going to those next figures in income and stuff. So fund it, right? If you know, and even if you don't directly have the money, I know you know the systems to get funding. You know the spaces and banks and those type of things. So calling all of y'all bankers out there, all y'all finance people out there that are watching, like, fund Black owned businesses, right? If you see that someone is doing something that's unique and creative and it has a space and you believe in it, show us the money. Put that money down.
And I think I'll be a devil's advocate on this and just say, but that doesn't mean that just because somebody says, here, I really see what you're doing and I love what you're doing and I want to fund you, that you just say, okay, and you sit there and do nothing. Like, if somebody is willing to teach you, is willing to pull you into the spaces to which Dayna's talking about, you have to be willing to follow. You can't just run in there like, well, I'm finna take over, I'm here, this is what I'm finna do. Like, that you have to be willing to go. Like, you have to be willing to be taught. You have to be, from a sports mom and Dunn's played sports, like, you have to be coachable. If you are not coachable, if you're not even, I should say, approachable in those matters, people are not going to be willing. And then you can't say, I need you to do this. Yeah, but if people have approached you and said, hey, I think you'd be great, you should apply for this, like, it's not going to be handed to you. You are still going to have to put in the work and show from a business standpoint. We're not talking about whether you as a person are I can't think of the word. I'm learning so many words today. If you're worthy of the opportunity, like, if you put your business plan together, and we've talked about this, you can't walk into a bank and just be like, look, this is what I do, I would love your money. Like, be professional about the thing. This is what I got, boom, and hand it over. Like, then there is no, that leaves no nothing. Like, who you are as a person and what you look like, all of that, that's not what we're talking about. So you do have to come. Like, you can't just sit at home and say, hey, this is what I do and nobody's giving me money. Like, you do have to put in the work and be willing to go into these spaces, willing to go into these rooms, be willing to be taught and coached, and yeah, all of those things. Because I don't want anybody to be like, well, they need to, and they said no.
Just to kind of bring it full circle of what everybody said, if you my friend and you brush your teeth, I sell stuff like that, okay? If you take a bath and you my friend, support, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. Because I got friends that's not supporting. I'm talking to you, okay?
Dayna, I need you to just go ahead and coin that. If you brush your teeth.
You my friend. And I will say, just, so sometimes you'll get a huff and a puff where it's like, well, your toothpaste is more expensive or your this or that. But understand, again, the cycle of dollars, right? So even if you spent a little bit more to buy from my business, now I have more money to buy from you. Or I have more money to support something community wise that you could also then benefit, right? So even if, let's say, for instance, your kids go to the local library, now I can pay taxes, I can pay all of these things that then support that as well. And sometimes I feel like we forget those things, right? So yeah, you want to go to that big box store to buy that money went to a whole nother state or a whole nother country, right? So that never got cycled back into us. And then you wonder why I can't give back to you, because you're not supporting back here. So we're not evenly exchanging those dollars back and forth. So it's important that we understand that even though on the surface sometimes it can feel like, oh, well, this is more if I buy it from you, you're actually hurting yourself more, and again, your local economy, by not cycling those dollars amongst small businesses. The other thing, like, really, really big, I want to hit on is stop competing with other Black owned businesses. Okay. And what I mean by that, because obviously, if you're in business, you're going to have competition. Okay. But what I've seen more than not, and even in my own personal experiences, and if some of y'all watch this, I'm talking about you. I have had ideas, I have had things that I fed into other people's business, and then I've created certain things. And then all of a sudden I turn around and my white counterpart decided, hey, I'm going to do that too, even though I already have a monopoly on all these other multiple things, right? But for some reason, what they're doing now looks exactly like what I just told them that I wanted to do and what I've created, right? But instead of saying, hey, I got some ideas that could actually improve maybe what I was doing, they said, well, I'm just going to create my own and I'm just going to do it myself. So that way they capitalize and they make more money, right? And their people and their following is going to go ahead and support that. And so then it leaves me where it's like, okay, I'm still fighting. I'm still fighting to prove my efforts and my worth and my this and my that to get people to it. And so with that, stop competing, right? And even if you want to still do your own thing with it, support that Black, because you already had that conversation with them. You knew what their visions were. So why not feed and help support theirs? So you're like, hey, I have this similar idea and I think that this would improve yours. I would love to collaborate with you. Let's do an event together. Let me show you some of my people that would also benefit from what you're doing. This is the system I was going to use instead because I think this would be more efficient to it. Like really actually promote what they're doing. Stop competing as if there's not enough for everybody to eat at the table, but actually use those resources. So like let's have a buffet, right? So if you make some good greens, share your greens recipe, okay? Because at the end of the day, the greens still might not be as good as your greens recipe, but now everybody gets to eat greens, right? Why are you the only one that gets to benefit from greens?
I agree. I think that is a really great point because I think that's we do that to um each other, right? Like it's unnecessary, and Dana touched on it before. Collaboration is huge a huge way to support the BIPOC community, their businesses, and women as a whole, especially since we're heavily slated towards talking to women. It is, and let's keep it real. It is us, and I'm saying women that do this a lot more than our male counterparts. Um, I know males can be shifty, but ladies, we do it a lot more malicious to each other. Like, nope, I'm gonna pull this chair right from underneath you. And I know that it might be played out, but there is plenty of room. Like, you don't need to steal another woman's chair in order for you to, sit down as well. You can grow, if you need a big chair, you can grow your chair. Like get the chair that you need, but earn it with integrity.
Just don't pop nobody with a chair, okay? We're not doing it.
Yeah, but on a serious note, we would love to hear from everybody in the comments. Those who are a part of the minority, BIPOC, and Black communities that run small businesses. How do you feel about this? What are your takes? What is support like for you? And those who are not, because our viewership is eclectic and across the board, and it's a beautiful thing. I have had in-person conversations with people that I did not know were watching this. So it is touching a lot of people, and we would love to hear from you as well. Is there a reason that you don't? Have you had an experience that has shaded you from wanting or jaded you from wanting to continue to support? Or are you looking for ways? Like, we would really love to hear from everybody across the board where you fall on it, your thoughts, your feelings. Make sure you drop those in the comments.
Yeah, because I will say, hey, Black people, can y'all please be more professional? And can we get our stuff together? Because there's times I don't want to support y'all either. Because I'm like, look, it's been the worst experience ever. Can I help you? What you mean? Can you help me? Yes, ma'am. I came to you, but yes, that's why I'm here. What you mean? Can you help me? Like, so I do think that we need to clean up some of our professionalism. I do think sometimes we need to clean up, but that's a whole nother podcast and a whole nother video that we can talk on. But definitely, I'm gonna leave it with that one. Also, mentorship. So even if a lot of these other things that you said, I don't know how I can really help and support that way. Never, ever, ever. I think this kind of goes along with the last thing that we said, mentorship. You can mentor somebody, you can encourage somebody, you can give your own experience to help alleviate some of the obstacles and challenges that they might be facing in business. And that could be a great support as well.
Black folks that go you too, because I know we like to take them cards and hold it like this, and then be like, nope, I'm gonna. If you're hosting a webinar, seminar, or something, there is a price involved in that, and I get it. But like Dayna says, professionalism, there are lines. Let's not pretend like if you're not at a tens of $1,000 scale to be charging somebody to do something, let's not pretend like we are. Yes, big dreams, we're gonna get you there, but let's not be like, I got $200 worth of information to give you, but I'm gonna charge you 10 grand to get you there, and be like, oh well. Let's keep it real and do the right thing, like Dayna said, with love, y'all, with love. That being said, again, do not forget, go hit that YouTube channel link, hit follow so you get all updates. I know that everybody can't be here live on any and or every giving Wednesday, every giving Wednesday. So it's 5 Eastern, 6 Central every Wednesday right here live. If you cannot catch it live, you can catch the replays, which obviously show up on our pages on Facebook, but you're going to be behooved to go and click that YouTube link so you can get in and get out and see what you need to see. All right. We will see you next week, same time, same place. Y'all take it easy.